Coming up on Tech News Today, PlayStations get cheaper and weirder. U.S. phone users are proven rude, and Fox and ABC get ready to encourage piracy. All that and more coming up.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Tuesday, August 16th, 2011. Tech News Today is brought to you by Hover.com. Hover is domain name registration and management that's simple. For Hover's transfer concierge service free for our audience, go to tnt.hover.com. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm Iyaz Akhtar.
I'm Jason Howell.
And this is the show we kick around some of the tech news of the day and try to make some sense of it. Joining us to bring some sense, Stuart Miles, founder of Pocket-Lint at pocket-lint.com.
Hey, Stuart.
Hey, Stuart. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
As I understand it, you've made Iyaz Akhtar's career.
He knows everything to you.
Well, you could, I mean, you know, who am I to deny him such wanton excitement?
Well, it's good to have you along. We've got some good stories today to get to. Got some interesting discussions. Start off with a shorter bit here. Microsoft President Steven Sinofsky posting to a blog on the Microsoft website about a new blog series called Building Windows 8. There's a lot in there about developers and trying to be more communicative with them and sharing more information, saying we're gonna cover all of the questions that you have in no particular order. They kind of made a deal in the blog post saying, you know, a lot of you criticize that we're not going to get to your question first, but we are going to cover everything you want to know about Windows 8 as you begin, as those of you who will be trying out the pre-release version over the coming months. So there's the key thing that's making the news here, is that he's implying that pre-release version is coming over the coming months. Now, that could mean anytime between now and December, I suppose, right?
Well, I guess if they're going to have this blog, right, they're going to have little hidden messages like this so other Windows 8 rumors blogs can still continue to exist. Because if they're going to just lay it all out on the table, they have to leave these little cryptic messages like, a pre-release is coming.
Yeah, it does seem really cryptic. We're going to answer questions. If you have a question, we'll get to it. There are going to be a lot of new features. We will cover those. I mean, it's like, okay, you said a lot without saying anything at all, Sinofsky.
Stuart, does it get you excited at all? I mean, I saw a few people writing it up. I think it's noteworthy because Microsoft said so little about Windows 8.
It's ecstatic excitement. I mean, it's one of those things. They have to get the ball rolling. They have to get the conversation started, so to speak, and this is a great place to do it. And if, as I said, if you throw in little tidbits, and then you get people reading it because you think, oh, what are they going to say next? What are they going to say next?
I think we'll probably see a beta coming at Build. There's no confirmation of that, but the Build conference is for developers. This is called Building Windows 8. You can follow their Twitter, Build Windows 8. So that just seems to fit the pattern. And they also say, look for shortened URLs, win8.ms, with links to posts and videos.
So this will be the official place, so we don't have to listen to Steve Ballmer, who might accidentally say something that Microsoft always disavows later on.
Yeah.
This is the official place.
This is the official place where they will deny all the things Steve Ballmer says that are
one
true.
Convenient source.
Exactly. The European Union has removed most of the ban on the Samsung Galaxy Tab 10.1. Samsung will be able to sell its Galaxy into the retail channel until a further court hearing happens on August 25th. A Dusseldorf regional court decided to allow the sales anywhere in Europe except within Germany because it is unclear to the court whether a German court could ban a South Korean company from selling products outside of Germany. This is just kind of weird European law going on here, but the upshot is Samsung Galaxy Tab back on sale. Now, Stuart, you were saying if you're a consumer, you probably never noticed it left.
No. Basically, one of the crazy elements within the injunction, was that it only stopped Samsung selling the tabs to retailers to then sell them to the consumers. And so what that meant was, chances are, if you walked into a store in the UK, you'd still be able to buy one if there was one in stock. It's just if that store ran out of stock and then they had to go to Samsung and say, we have some more? The injunction said that they weren't allowed to sell anymore.
But it was pretty popular, too. So, I mean, I would assume that it would have been sold out in more than a few places.
I don't know. I don't remember reporting any giant
which then meant that they couldn't restock up. But the only real big sort of effect that it's had in the UK has been that Vodafone suspended pre-orders. Now, Vodafone's the exclusive operator here for the tab, and so therefore they've had to hold off. So they might have lost some sales because people have gone, I'll just go get it elsewhere. But chances are, once it all comes back out, and if it does, get approval to go on sale, then that suspended pre-order will just be unsuspended. It will just carry on as normal.
You guys think that now that this ban is partially lifted, that we're going to see giant sales numbers of Samsung Galaxy Tabs everywhere in the EU? Or is this just going to...
Well, I mean, I guess in the places where it was sold out, they can order a bunch more, at least temporarily.
As long as they don't order them from Samsung Germany, though, Fry.
That's right. I do think it's interesting. Go ahead, Stuart.
I was going to say, I think it's interesting in that it's almost given its sort of rogue status. So that's the feeling we're getting, is that it's sort of, now you might want to go and buy one because they might ban it again, or it might just become one of those things. It's like, oh, you've got one of those.
Yeah, I'd never heard of the Samsung Galaxy Tab until I heard about getting banned. Now I want one.
It's like the fake shortage.
Exactly.
Might as well be wearing a leather jacket, riding a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Bad boy that they can't stop.
You've got a Galaxy Tab, do you? You must be really dangerous.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone likes the Tab boys. This is probably the most interesting thing we've got in the lineup today. Gamescom going on in Germany, and Sony's incoming head of European operations, Jim Ryan, said that for the PS Vita, the forthcoming PlayStation Vita, every game will be downloadable from the store. They will still sell many games on Vita memory cards, but they're kind of flip-flopping. It used to be like, oh, most of the games are available for download, but then all the games are sold on physical media, and then it was kind of half and half. They're saying they're committing to downloadable media, except for the new Sony PSP E1000, which is coming this autumn to Europe for €99 and won't have Wi-Fi. So you'll still download games for this PSP, but you'll have to download them on your computer and then sync, kind of like
a wired sync,
like iPod apps.
This is such an odd strategy. But then again, this thing that they're doing with Vita is a great idea that they should have done for the PSP Go, that kind of short-lived, no UMD-based PSP. They didn't have all the games via download, so at least that means that if you have the Vita, you'll be able to get your games. But I'm kind of curious about the E1000.
We won't get it here in the U.S., Stuart. You're the only one that's going to be able to get it.
Yeah, I mean, but really, I don't understand. Why don't you just go and buy, if you're really that desperate for a PSP, instead of paying €99, why wouldn't you just go and buy a second-hand PSP 3000 that has Wi-Fi, probably on eBay for like 20 quid?
Well, this is probably Sony just getting a whole bunch of profit, a huge profit margin on this particular device, because they've done this with the PS2. They kept coming out with iteration after iteration after iteration. Even after the PS3 came out, there was a new PS2 for a while. Even the PS1 got iterated a lot too. So they're probably hoping to make a quick buck on these old spare parts, and then this will go away as a little footnote in the history of Sony.
You think they just have a bunch of spare parts that they're trying to put together and get rid of?
Sure. That's
they got to milk every last cent out of the stuff right now. After the hack and the earthquake, they're hurting. They've got to push some sales.
And the retail price is €99, so it might be even less. It might be attractive to somebody as like just an impulse buy, like 80 euros
maybe.
I think ultimately it's going to be that great sense of, mum's going to go into a shop, kids ask for a console, she thinks it's 90 quid. I can buy a couple of games for like £7. Brilliant, job done. Thanks very much. Kid will be happy. Come Christmas Day, kid will be like, "Where's the Vita?"
Yeah, exactly. Although the price cut worked for Nintendo, they had their best 7-day run of sales in Japan since they launched the 3DS in February. So that price cut is working from them. Maybe Sony's just catching on and saying, you know what, we got to drop prices on stuff. We have to appear to be a bargain in this economy. They also announced the PS3 will now retail for $250 in the US, €250, and 24,980 yen. And the 320 gigabyte PS3 unit drops from $349 down to $300, as well as a bundle that bundles in Infamous 2 for $300 if you get the 320 gigabyte. So that's actually the one to get.
Is anyone else curious about the price of $249? Isn't it the same price as the Vita itself? So at $500 you can get both of them. But is Sony competing with itself? Vita versus the PS3 at $249 a piece?
That's true. The Wii, though, when the 3DS first came out, the Wii was actually, in some cases, wasn't it cheaper than the 3DS?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think they look at it as these are two separate purchase points. People don't decide between the two.
Right.
They compare the Wii to the Xbox. They compare the PSP to the 3DS. They don't compare the PSP to the PS3.
You think they'll throw it together as a $500 bundle for like a Wii U style experience? I mean, the Vita's supposed to have that kind of capability anyway.
You mean to be a controller for the PS3?
Yeah,
Maybe.
There's remote play.
I could see that. I could see a PS.
$500 is not too bad together.
Well, I mean, if they're
I think if
$250
you put-
each, then just buy them. You don't even have to bundle them. It is $500 for both of them.
Hopefully they sell for $499.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I think if you took both, threw in a couple of games for both, maybe an extra controller or something, did like an Xbox 360 Connect bundle, you suddenly go, oh, if I buy both of them and I get 3 games, then wow, that seems like a real saving.
Yeah, I could totally see that. All right, let's take a quick break and thank our sponsors at hover.com. This episode is brought to you by Hover. All about making domain name registration easy. And let me tell you, I've used a lot of domain name registrars, and easy domain name registration is incredibly important to me. That's why I use Hover. Hover doesn't sell you a ton of services. They just make it easy to register the domain name you want. And if you do need customer service, they have a no-hold policy. I like this. Customer service calls Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern time. You will not be put on hold. You don't have to pile through menus and buttons and figure out how to hack the system. You call, you get a live person, and an exclusive for the TWiT audience. You get free transfer concierge service. So if you're sitting there thinking, gosh, I'd like to try Hover, but I got all these domain names with this other registrar, and I just don't know how to transfer them. Hover offers TWiT audience members a free domain name transfer no matter how many domain names you have. Just call Hover, give them your username and password. They take it from there. Hover gets the authorization code, deal with all the emails, and let you know when your domain names are on Hover and working exactly as you want them to. Now, the transfer itself, you got to pay for the domains, but that's just the registration of the domains, $10 per domain, and this extends the domain 1 year beyond its current registration date. So you're paying for the renewal of your domain names. Hover will handle the whole hassle for no additional cost if you go to tnt.hover.com. New domain names from Hover, $15 with domain privacy included. Check it out, tnthover.com, and use the offer code TNT when you call them. And we thank Hover for their support of Tech News Today. Onward with the news. FCC is going to launch an inquiry into the wireless outage at the BART protest on Friday. Now, to catch you up, on Friday at the subway stations in San Francisco, a protest was planned. BART cut wireless service in the tunnels, and the protest dissolved. Now, we don't know for sure that that's why it dissolved, but it caused a lot of outrage. People said, oh, they're turning into Mubarak. They're turning into a dictatorship. They're cutting wireless service to get rid of a protest. I think it's kind of a different comparison between people fighting for democracy in the Middle East and people wanting to protest a BART shooting. But the comparison was made, and another protest was scheduled for yesterday at 5 p.m. BART did not cut the wireless service yesterday. The protest was fairly peaceful. About 60 people showed up.
And about 60 reporters, too.
Apparently about 60 reporters.
Someone from the New York Times had said, well, we outnumber the protesters almost.
Yeah.
Wow, look at this.
And the reason BART says that they could cut wireless service is because they contract with a third party called Wi-Fi Rail. And that is how you get Wi-Fi, 3G access, all of that service, your voice access. This company, Wi-Fi Rail, puts in the transmitters and repeats the signals. So it's under BART's control. BART had originally said, we asked the carriers to cut it, but it turns out that they are the ones who turned it off. And they turned it off only within their tunnels. They didn't block access outside of the tunnels. So given all of that, do you think that, first of all, do you think that they bowed to public pressure here by not cutting it off this second time?
Probably, but by cutting it off the first time, I understand the argument that, hey, there were innocent people who were not involved in anything, and you cut off their cell access in what could, for anyone who's unfamiliar with BART, I mean, there's a big section of BART that goes under the ocean. You don't want to get stuck down there and not have access to the outside world type of a thing. At the same time,
they do have emergency telephones, though.
They do.
It's not that they always had wireless service.
Sure, but yeah, and at the same time, if there was some sort of a protest that went awry, do you want to be stuck underneath the water, in that way because somebody has inconvenienced you on your way home, that kind of thing? So I think it really goes both ways. I think yesterday was a pretty good example of BART doing their best to just try to disperse these folks. It was a peaceful protest. I think at some point they had blocked a car, and so they had to evacuate
one of the train cars.
One of the train cars. Evacuate a BART station at Civic Center Plaza.
They shut down the Civic Center station for a short period of time. But Stuart, you were saying when we were talking before the show that you don't have any service in the London Underground as it is.
No, it's one of those annoyances, but also one of those amazing moments of tranquility and peace within the London capital. As soon as you go into the Underground, that's it. There's no phone reception, no Wi-Fi, no sniff of that ever coming for any sort of short term. And it's one of those things. You get on with it. You read a book. You sit in silence. You enjoy a bit of peace and quiet for a change.
Yeah, the same thing is true of New York. When I was growing up there was no Wi-Fi. At least when I left a couple months ago, there was no Wi-Fi or 3G access on the trains. So the fact they cut it out for a couple of people over at BART, I don't know how awful that was. It wasn't like if they were jamming signals for with a radius or something like that. That seemed like that'd be incredibly evil. But this was, if you walked out of the station about 20 feet, you'd be completely fine.
Yeah, it was, and BART's an intergovernmental agency, but the train stations can be closed. So shutting down the wireless is perfectly within their purview. The question isn't whether they broke the law. The question is, should they have done it? And it seems like BART decided, you know what, it wasn't worth it to turn it off. We got more flack about it. So even though we have the right to turn it off, we just won't turn it off this time, and we'll let the protest go. I think they handled it better the second time, because then the protesters get to make their voice heard. You deal with it. Yeah, you did have to shut down one of the train stations, but it's going to be over now, at least for a while.
At the same time, I feel like I can empathize with the first knee-jerk reaction of, we don't know how bad this is going to get. We don't want protesters. Yeah, sure, it wasn't anything that turned violent, but see people behind the controls going, oh gosh, we really need to make sure that this doesn't become, there's just absolute derailment, no pun intended. And so I can see both sides, really. I can.
Now, with wireless service cut down, a lot of people may have been pretending to be on their phone just because they missed being on the phone so much.
They don't know how else to live.
Apparently, that is a common practice, according to a Pew Research Center study. Of the 83% of American adults who have a cell phone, 13% have pretended to use them so they didn't have to interact with someone.
Have you ever done this? Let's be honest, because I have not.
You've never pretended to be
I have.
I have.
While being...
When I had a smartphone...
Tom's taking a call.
Oh, is he?
I gotta take this.
Tom's taking a call.
You should take his headphone out at least.
I have definitely worn my headphones, not listening to anything, when I walk down sections of a city where there are a lot of people sort of catcalling and that sort of thing, where it's like...
That's a common problem.
You could just... I don't mean catcall. You know what it is. Like,
hey, lady.
Just hassling. People sitting around hassling you. Yelling at you as you walk by. But not talking on the phone as if I was having an actual conversation, just pretending I couldn't hear them because of my headphones.
Yeah. Stuart, you've ever done this?
All the time.
Do you really?
No, it's one of those things. If you want to get, there's a chance if someone's hassling you, normally it's like a sales assistant or something like that, and you just you want an exit, and you're like, I'm sorry, I've got a really important call. My phone's on silent, it's clearly not ringing. But I'm going to pretend it is.
You just shake your hand a little, like, oh, it's on vibrate.
Very strong vibrate.
Yeah. It's like,
I've done that. I've done that once. I was in a shop in Montreal. I had asked if they had any SIM cards, prepaid SIM cards, and they were like, "Oh, an associate has to help you with that. He'll be with you in a second." And kept putting me off. Every time I tried to say, "You know what? I'm sorry, I just can't wait." They're like, "Hold on, just wait." They were so polite but so insistent that I shouldn't leave that I finally went, oh, I have to take this, and walked out the front door.
I've definitely got off of the phone before because I was like, I can't hear you. Okay, I'm gonna hang up now. All right.
Do you ever?
I just can't hear you.
is
No,
going...
because I'm afraid that they'll know I'm faking it. I just pretend I can't hear
What's
them.
interesting because the Pew Studies was only covering Americans, and we just found from Stuart this is an international phenomena.
Yeah.
People just like saying, I'm not going to pay attention to you. I got this shiny thing. Very
Right.
shiny.
It's a nonverbal signal, right, Stuart?
I think it's a polite way
Yeah.
of saying, look, just bugger off. I'm not interested.
No offense, but
Bugger
Yeah,
off.
no offense, but you're boring me. I'm going to walk away now.
Exactly. It's much nicer than just turning and walking away. Other things in the study, 73% of people use their phones for text, 44% use their phone to access the internet, fewer than 6% make video calls, 27% reported having trouble doing something without their phone. They feel lost without it. And 29% said they actually turn off the phone to get a break. 29% of people say, yeah, I'll just turn the damn thing off. I don't want it bothering me. That seemed high to me. I was surprised by that. I do that a lot.
you don't like to disconnect, or you think, wait, are the numbers too high or too low?
I thought it was higher. I was higher than I expected. Because when I tell people that, like, yeah, my phone was off, they act shocked. Like, why would you ever have your phone
That's
off?
like when I tell people I don't have a phone. That's the horrified reaction of,
I think
how do you get in contact with people? It's like,
A lot of this is people turning off their phones because maybe their notification settings haven't been dialed down enough. I mean, everyone knows that a person whose phone is like, even if it's not making an actual noise, is buzzing every 3 seconds because they've got boxcar notifications turned on or whatever. I've definitely been in that camp before. Although I do think that you can make a nice balance.
All right, let's finish up.
I think there's
Oh, go ahead, Stuart.
I was going to say, I think there's a lot of people also that will choose a holiday destination based on whether they think it will be in reception or out of reception, depending on what they do. It's almost as if, like, it makes the decision for them rather than them actually having to say, I've got to turn my phone off.
Yeah.
It's a case of, oh, look, I'm in this holiday place and, oh, no, it hasn't got coverage.
Oh.
You know, and that means that I don't have to make the decision. Someone else has made it for me to be able to turn off.
yeah, good old
Then
Club
there's a lot of
Faraday
people that do
cage.
that.
It's like an intervention for yourself.
Yeah.
Let's finish off with Fox, starting yesterday, will keep its television shows off the web for 8 days, except for Hulu Plus subscribers and Dish Network subscribers. Disney's ABC is now allegedly set to do the same thing. Bob Iger has made some comments indicating that they will probably delay their shows as well and implement some sort of authentication. Now, we don't know for sure if that would mean you'd have to authenticate to get the 8-day-old stuff, or if you authenticated as a subscriber to a particular service, you'd get to watch shows immediately the day after they air. August is a good time for them to roll this out, though, because there's not a lot of new shows, a lot of people on vacation, so it's convenient to put it out there while people won't notice, and then when the fall shows start to premiere, then it'll just be the new thing, the new way things work.
I guess so, although that's kind of, I don't know. It's not like they're really pulling the wool over anyone's eyes. People will end up noticing, even if they're not watching a lot of TV this month.
But if you did it in the middle of a season, all of a sudden people are in a habit. You do it in this off time. People are they're coming back to television in the autumn. And the question here, though, is this going to drive people? Are people even going to notice, right? Because first of all, if you authenticate, in most cases, you'll get stuff. And most people subscribe to some sort of service, whether it's Comcast or Cablevision or something. So if ABC allows a lot of these, people might not notice. They just authenticate and say, oh, yeah, I'm a Comcast user, whatever. But will it actually drive people towards piracy? Because it's essentially saying, look, for those of you who want to watch television on the internet, you can't. And you're back to your other choice, which was to go find it elsewhere. I mean, one of the great benefits of things like Hulu was if I could watch it the day after online, I wouldn't have to go try some third-party site or try to find a BitTorrent.
Well, that's still going to be the case on Hulu Plus, which of course isn't free. It's $8 a month, $9. But this doesn't really surprise me either. I always wondered why it was so easy for anyone to get free content on Hulu. Yes, I know that there are ads, but it's a classic case of the cable companies making enough of a stink, so they go, okay, all right, people can still get these shows, but how about we wait a week and a day? Does that make you happy? So that people, if you really want to watch a show, 8 days, in some cases, is a really long time to wait to feel like you're caught up with everybody.
Well, that depends, I guess, on your friends, really. Like, you know, if we all make a pact here, we won't talk about the show until 8 days from its actual air date. At some point in your head, the air date moves 8 days. Like, you're not going to be paying attention to this. Because I know when I had cable and I had a DVR, like, stuff would be just recorded, and I would have weeks of content at certain points where you're like, oh, I'll get caught up now. But if somebody wants to tell you about the latest happenings of a particular show, I mean, unless you want to have that awkward conversation of, look, you can't tell me what happens on American Idol. I haven't watched it yet.
But see, we don't live in a bubble. My Twitter stream, I have to turn off on Sunday nights because I don't watch Breaking Bad until Monday, and someone will spoil it for me. Very nice people. It just happens.
Now, Stuart, you were saying the BBC, ITV, UK companies do it the opposite. They put it up immediately and then take it down after 7 days.
Yeah, so BBC iPlayer, for example, which they're talking about bringing to the US anyway, as a paid subscription model, but they have it where something will show, like a program will show tonight, and then I'll be able to catch up with that show for the next 7 days, and then at the end of that, it will then get pulled off. And so what you find is it's great because if you've missed a really good show, then and someone's talking about it at the water cooler, tomorrow or the next day or whatever, you can then go, aha, I'll go and catch it. I'll go and catch up and I'll watch it, and then you just go to the BBC and you watch it legally and properly. Where what you find otherwise is probably people will just go, you know what, I'll just go and hit the BitTorrents and try and find it. What we're also finding from a TV perspective, which is quite interesting, is that stuff will air in the US, all these big premieres, as you guys like to call them, will air in the US, and then places like Sky will try and show them as quick as they can after the US. So in some days, like 3 days apart, in an attempt to try and stop the piracy. And that has had a massive effect. It's actually a positive effect. It's really working well.
But then after a week, they pull the episode down? They don't leave it up?
No, from iPlayer, it's 7 days, and then it gets pulled.
But that seems silly. That just seems just as silly as not having it up right afterwards. Because if I'm a week late, all of a sudden now I'm driven towards alternate methods.
But then I think after a week, I think there must be a licensing agreement there. But I think after the 7 days, they've deemed that if you were going to watch it live, then you would watch it within that 7 days. Else, you probably want to go and buy it, or you're just going to go and download it from somewhere else.
Yeah, but what's even sillier about this whole thing is that this is Fox Broadcasting and ABC Broadcasting that send out signals over the air for free at the same time. So it's not like you had to authenticate with a cable box, oh, I can get Fox this way. You can get it with an antenna. So the fact that they're going to hold it off by 8 days, otherwise you have to buy, I don't know, a massive piece of metal. I mean, it just seems like there's a way to get this content for free already. Why not just give it for free online at the same time?
I think they know enough people are not going to go get that massive piece of metal because they're just tied to their old ways of doing things.
Yeah, but enough, and probably not that many people are going to go pirate it either. So really, you're just inconveniencing your audience and limiting it. You're saying, let's make our shows not available to watch as much. And until cable companies start to figure out how they can benefit from this, or at least loosen control of rights, and until advertising catches up to where it costs as much to get an ad on the web as it does on TV, we're going to see more ridiculous stuff like this. It's just going to take a while. Let's move on to the news fuse. Ah, yes, it's time for some fun in domain name land. Plenty of companies picking up new URLs along with the brand spanking new .XXX, TLD. And it's not just those who have a content of a prurient nature. Plenty of big name companies are picking them up in a defensive move. Right now, some domain registrars are charging around $200 for each domain name. The ICM registry who introduced the domain says that the cost is just so the registry can break even. Folks like, I don't know, Coca-Cola probably don't want to have to pay $200 just to keep someone from making Coca-Cola porn.
It's like the new patent wars. XXX wars.
Yeah. Well, it's every time there's a new domain name, we run through this. But .XXX, they figure, well, we really don't want someone squatting on
TWiT.XXX.
Yeah, TWiT.XXX.
Are we getting TWiT.XXX? Already got it. Already got it. Leo's got it.
Good.
All right, good.
Thank goodness somebody's on top of this.
Wait, what are we running on that?
The other live stream.
Yeah, it's a different one. It's in the basement. It's different. Facebook has recently said it had its smoking gun evidence that shows that Paul Seglia is not the owner of 50% of Facebook, as he claims. And on Monday, the company made the evidence public. Facebook's attorneys say Facebook has found the real contract between Zuckerberg and Seglia, and that contract, unsurprisingly, would not give Seglia the half ownership of Facebook that he would like. Now, if you think that he's finished, think again. He's now arguing that he has an explanation for why his version of the contract is different than the one Facebook is submitting. I'm going to guess that he's going to say that they doctored a fake contract.
That would be the easy one.
Right.
Just give up, Seglia. Okay, DigiTimes is reporting that Ultrabook vendors are unhappy with Intel. Those vendors want Intel to drop prices of its CPUs by 50%, but Intel won't go that low. But Intel is willing to drop its chips by 20%. Considering that Intel wants to make Ultrabook successful, you'd think they would do anything to make this happen. However, it could just simply be an economic argument that Intel just can't make a cut that deep right now.
Time now for our continuing coverage of patent wars. You might have missed the news, but Google plans on acquiring Motorola Mobility to pick up... How would you possibly have missed that news? Anyway, they're picking up a whole slew of patents, among other things. Turns out Verizon is pleased with this news. According to Verizon's Senior VP and Deputy General Counsel John Thorne, Verizon said the deal might bring some stability to the ongoing smartphone patent disputes. Unlike yesterday's slew of copy and paste press releases, AT&T hasn't said anything yet. But hey, look, Verizon likes it.
Hey, Apple. Yeah, you. Apple. Guess what?
What?
HTC is suing you again for infringements of 3 more patents. Apple. Are you Apple? Maybe I should just direct the rest of this to you. How do you feel about that, Apple?
Tired.
Of those 3 patents, 2 of them were recently acquired by HTC in its purchase of ADC Telecommunications back in April. The ITC has already ruled that HTC infringes on a couple of Apple patents. I hope you guys are writing this all down because there are a lot of 3-letter acronyms here. So this is HTC's attempt to get some kind of leverage for future negotiations.
So HTC, IDC,
It's messy.
ADC.
It's a spider web of lies.
You know, if you want to get a job in tech, you should just start working on something like the founder and lead developer of Cyanogen, Steve Kondik. He's just landed a job at Samsung. He made the announcement via Facebook, but he mentioned that he would still work on Cyanogen as a side project and made it clear that Samsung didn't just snap up Cyanogen. Maybe Samsung TouchWiz is about to suck less.
More Intel news for y'all. The next generation high-end Sandy Bridge E will not ship with fans or heat sinks, according to VR Zone. That doesn't mean these chips are magically cooler than all the rest. Probably means that Intel's heat management accessories just aren't up to snuff for enthusiasts. And Gadget reached out to Intel for clarification on the matter, but Intel didn't speak to the heat issue.
So remember that totally unsubstantiated rumor that the iPad would launch this fall with a Retina display? Yeah,
Yep.
it sounded pretty
Almost
good.
confirmed, yeah.
Yeah. And an example of, well, snake eating itself. Okay, let's just call it what it is. 9 to 5 Mac reports a rumor that the orders have been canceled because of problems with the non-existent Retina display. So the non-existent iPad 3 will no longer be rumored to launch until, let's say, next year.
Whew.
That's a great summer strategy for a blogger. Start a rumor and then kill it.
Yeah,
I
kill
love
by
it.
the end. Nicely
We
done.
now have clarification.
Stuart, can you comment on this rumor?
I can neither comment or deny that a rumor of a rumor actually exists. Whether the rumor or rumor is actually around to rumor it any further than the rumor.
Well
Rumor
said.
falls in the tree, in the woods, in a tree. That's right. Over at Virginia Commonwealth University, researchers have come up with a new type of integrated circuit that doesn't require a battery. This IC would run using ambient energy. So where would you have ambient energy just laying around? Well, like the human body is a good example for that. So maybe in the future, a doctor will tell you, take 2 integrated circuits and call me in the morning.
It's a heat vampire is what it is. The Mac App Store is not just for bejeweled and angry birds anymore. Autodesk is selling a $900 version of AutoCAD LT 2012 for Mac through the Apple App Store. First of all, that's Mac software from Autodesk. That's kind of cool. And second, yes, Autodesk will share revenue from its software with Apple, the people who make the computer their software runs on. Full disclosure, my wife is a member of the Club 1 on the Autodesk campus.
I'm glad we got that out of the
Tom.
way.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I would have felt uncomfortable had you not disclosed that.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that's
No,
out.
I think that was journalistically sound.
Let's move on to the randomizer.
Randomizer.
Arduino. You make so many cool things, but this one I have no idea what to make of. It's an Arduino box reported on by Engadget that mutes your television at any mention of certain names. So you can program it to say, if Donald Trump shows up in the closed captioning, mute the TV. That way you don't accidentally hear the people you may not like on your television.
But closed captioning doesn't always have the person's name. It would have to be someone else mentioning that person for the name to trigger the mute.
You could try to program in a phrase they are known for. Like there's a catchphrase, perhaps.
Right.
And then turn off it based on that concept.
Would a nicer option just be for swearing or cursing? So you could, program into for a number of words, and then if you've got children involved, children in your house or whatever, it automatically, rather than allowing the programs to try and beep it out, it tries to beep it out for you.
That'd be interesting. I don't know if it's fast enough. I think the idea is when I say like, and we're now ready to talk to Donald Trump, it's just like, okay, you're not going to hear him.
Yeah.
We're just
Or if we
muting
said
the TV.
patents, it would just turn it
Yeah,
off.
some people might want it for Apple, Google, patents.
So it could almost be, yeah, it's like it's keywords in news programs. I think it would actually have a realistic, I don't know, it would be a good
Or maybe
real-world
like-
strategy.
Maybe they could install them in the White House, and then whenever it mentions anybody that they don't really like, it just completely cuts it out, so they don't have to worry about it.
Nixon could have used that. Would have been quite handy for the taping. Let's move on to the calendar.
1995, where were you? Because I was using the first version of the browser, Internet Explorer 1.
I was
when
using
it
the
debuted.
Lynx browser. Screw you, graphical web.
Okay.
That's what I was like in 1995.
Really?
Yeah.
You're just angry at the world?
I was like,
an
These
anarchist?
graphics are ruining the internet.
But a browser lover all the same?
Just links.
Apple is now offering OS X Lion in the form of a $69 USB thumb drive. They had promised this. It's now available, but it's $40 more than getting Lion from the Mac App Store, so it's not much of a deal. Right now, the drive is only available from Apple's online store, but they will show up in...
Hey, 10.7.1 just came
Yeah,
out.
Apple just released that. Are they selling a USB stick for that too? Or are
You have
they
to get a
updating
second
the-
one?
Is that like also like $69?
Can I collect the whole set?
Maybe they'll... Yeah, good question. Maybe for everyone who's ordered them, they'll just get the new one.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Don't just have to buy a
Good
whole new Mac.
question. Toshiba's Cosmeo F755, the one, this is a laptop that delivers that glasses-free 3D experience, is going to be $1,700, and it's available now from Fry's, Best Buy, and Newegg. And it has a lot of really cool features: Core i7 processor, 6 gigabytes of RAM, 750 gigabyte hard disk, Blu-ray drive, etc. Toshiba also says, this is actually kind of the coolest part, it's working with NVIDIA to convert 2D games to 3D by this November. LinuxCon has kicked off, or will kick off in Vancouver tomorrow, August 17th. We're not going, but hopefully
Sadly, no.
if anyone out there in the audience is planning to attend, you got to write us or call us and let us know how it is. Don't forget that Nokia and Microsoft are holding a party in Cologne also tomorrow, August 17th. Now, they say they're going to have free food, they're going to have drinks, they're going to have great DJs, but they're not going to have any product announcements. So don't
Absolutely
expect
not.
product announcements. My suggestion is to go to the party because they might announce something.
Wait, what?
No, probably not. You just never know. AT&T is going to sell its LTE hotspot called the Elevate 4G and the LTE USB modem called the USB Connect Momentum 4G starting on August 21st. The Adrenaline will be firmware upgradable to LTE, so if you're actually worried that AT&T's LTE network won't be up by then, so you're probably right. In that case, 4G doesn't mean LTA, it means HSPA plus.
Yeah.
Until the LTE network.
This is
actually
why I
launches.
don't
This is
have-
why 4G is so
Yeah.
annoying to talk about.
Well, and I don't
because
have
you always
any
have to
faith in these
clarify.
rumors about, they're installing LTE stuff in the Apple stores. There's not even service for AT&T yet.
Yeah, it doesn't exist yet. Finally, the HTC Puccini tablet is going to launch by early October, says an executive at HTC. So that's something else associated with Opera that has nothing to do with
The
Opera.
Opera browser?
Well, not that.
No.
Just an Android tablet called Puccini.
I see. It will not sing for you. On to the emails, TNT@twit.tv. Lead us off, Sarah Lane.
Good evening, says Caleb C. Tilley.
Good evening.
I was watching the Sarah Lane Make It Rain episode of TNT, that was last Friday, and you were talking about whether there would ever be a ubiquitous SMS client that could be used across all iOS platforms. Iyaz mentioned that SMTP could be repurposed, but no one agreed. About 15 years ago, a friend and I were designing a turn-based game that used email as its communication medium. Each player's turn would be sent out to all players via email. The game client would monitor their mail application via connection to their mail host and capture each of the encoded mail messages. It worked fine for near real-time gameplay and would also work for catch-up play for players who logged off from the game. That was a prime example of using an old protocol for new purposes. Same could be done for SMS.
It could. That's a nifty little geeky thing.
Yeah.
Thing is, when instant messaging first came out, I said, no one's going to use this. We have email. And everyone used instant messaging because there's something different in the form of it than email. It's just weird. It's a part of human nature, even though things can do the same things. Your Iyaz is like, I'm not
So I'm not getting back into this thing again.
All right, let's finish off with Matt from Prestaton, who wrote in saying he thinks tablets are a fad. He says, I would love to see a smartphone where the screen could fold out if needed to be like a tablet, whilst maintaining a very similar form factor to current smartphones. Equally, I'd like to see a power of a laptop being available in a device that is more portable than current laptops, but does not remove the functionality such as full keyboard or processing power. So he thinks the only reason we have tablets is it's an interim step because they can do things that the technology hasn't allowed smartphones and laptops to do yet. Do you think that's true?
It's quite possible. I mean, Intel is betting on that too with the Ultrabook thing. They want these computers to be instant on, which is something tablets are doing now anyway. Even the old tablet PCs didn't do that. They want it to be really light, but super portable. That's the kind of concept. And the idea, when the technology catches up, you can have a rollable, scrollable screen when you want it to be attached to a keyboard. Maybe not. I mean, you always have different options. So, I think the thing is, all this technology is evolving so much that we're going to see a lot of different form factors in the next 20 years. So maybe it's going to seem like a blip, but like tablets might change. They might get curved. They'll have scrolls.
Yeah, I mean, like any other computer. One day we'll look back at that first iPad and go, can you imagine? Look at that thing. And that was so revolutionary. And that was the very beginning. And it'll seem like, a big brick. I think that's true for pretty much any...
It'll look like the Motorola brick phone. That'd be...
Yeah, exactly.
It'll do. Wow.
It'll be one of those. We're just at the beginning stages. I, for one, welcome the scroll tablet.
I totally want that foldable screen. Stuart, do you think tablets will go away if we advance technology the way this guy's talking about?
No. I think they're sort of here now to stay for a while. If you look at laptops 20 years ago, they were sort of the size of a flight controller's sort of briefcase, wasn't it? They were massive things, about sort of 10 kilos a pop and all that sort of thing. And now they're, fit inside an envelope. I think what you'll find is they'll become thinner, they'll become perhaps rollable, the screen technology will be better, the battery life will be better. The concept will be there. I think sci-fi movies have sort of pitched that out for many people for the next 50 odd years, that tablets will be around just so you can pretend to be in Star Trek when actually Star Trek is supposed to be happening.
Yeah.
So I think from that point of view, I can't see them going away anytime soon.
I think we'll see entirely different form factors that we can't even think of right now. This new form factors will come along and
clamshell Android tablet from Sony. Wait.
Yeah. Keyboard that you just roll out like toilet paper.
Just patent that idea now.
Yeah.
You haven't thought.
That is a good idea. Toilet paper keyboard, Tom. Get on that.
Wait, I like what Stuart's saying too. Patent ideas that you haven't thought of, so that if anyone thinks of them,
a method for that.
Yeah,
not the idea.
But you would be thinking of it in order to patent it.
Right. You just kind of trump everyone by saying, I've patented the idea of thinking of ideas.
Oh.
Boom.
Yeah.
You're a rich man.
Correct. Get onto the patent office right now.
All right, I got to go to USPTO. That's it for this edition of Tech News Today. Thanks to everybody on our Reddit at technewstoday.reddit.com, including Z-Golf, Sean Knott, Falcon Elm, Texas Teacher, Cake Wolf, Confixer87, and more. You can submit stories and vote things up and down there, technewstoday.reddit.com. Don't forget, you can buy bricks that go in our new studio. Bricks.twit.tv is the place to go. Put your message up on the wall right over there. I can see it from here. And thank you so much, Stuart, for being with us today. It's great having you on the show. Let folks know about Pocket Lint and where they can find your stuff online.
So www.pocket-lint.com, a cornucopia of excitement and joy about technology.
Excellent. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Twit.tv/TNT is our website. You can email us, TNT@twit.tv, or give us a call. Our phone number is 260-TNT-SHOW. Leave us a voicemail. Keep it nice, concise, and smart. Might play it on the show. We do listen to them all anyway. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.
That was an out of context shot.